If you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll you will admit that, right?
There you have Candace Owens providing cover for the very clear anti-Semitic tweet that Kanye West put out into the world over the weekend. For those of you who might have missed the tweet, I don't know how you could have, I'll read it to you and then you can decide whether or not this sounds anti-Semitic to you. He wrote, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people."
No, not anti-Semitic. Oh no, how would you interpret it that way, Candace?
Wait till you get a little more of her disgusting argument. But let me continue with this tweet where he wrote, "The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda." Okay, let's just be clear, that is anti-Semitism, period. That's all it is.
That's like the definition of anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go to war against all Jewish people. They secretly control everyone, okay, and refer to them as Jew. Right?
Okay.
I mean, that's the least offensive out of all of them.
But you know,
I mean, if you can't tell, look, if you say that's not anti-Semitic, it's super obvious that you're anti-Semitic. It's
yes.
Plain as day.
So with that said, let's hear from one anti-Semite providing cover for another anti-Semite.
If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost, what is DEFCON 3? Did he mean DEFCON 3, which would be a military defense position, not an offense for those of you that are offended, a military defense position? Is he tweeting this because he's reading the Newsweek headline calling him an anti-Semitic? Is he angry because he can't believe that he's not free to talk about people in his life who happen to be Jewish, right? Without being accused of anti-Semitism? Is he saying, I'm not gonna shut up and I'm gonna keep tweeting and I'm gonna keep calling these people out, referring to his friends that he feels slighted by? Is he talking about Jared Kushner and Josh Kushner? If you're a liar, you'll say, I know I was scared, Candace. I actually thought that Kanye West was going to launch a military strike in Israel.
Is there anything more laughable than Candace Owens being the arbiter of who is and is not an honest person? Really?
Yeah, no, but that was hilarious. I mean, you got to give her credit for that, right? DEFCON 3 is just a defensive position.
We're just asking questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he means by DEFCON 3. It could be a pleasant thing. Maybe DEFCON 3, they come over and give you a massage and go ride in on a unicorn. Yeah. You don't know.
Maybe it's just a trip to the day spa. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe he meant he was just gonna take Jewish people to the day spa with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, she knows. She knows.
Of course she knows. She's a raging anti-Semite. And by the way, at the end, she mentions Israel. What does Israel have to do with any of this?
She also mentions the Kushners in that argument. Oh, he felt slighted by his friends because in the context of the Tucker Carlson interview, Kanye West was very hurt that Jared Kushner's brother, I believe, had a larger stake in Kim Kardashian's Skims company than he did. Like, it's insane. All of this is insane. But look, the reason why I want to bring this up, the cover that's being provided for, again, very transparent anti-Semitism is, look, do I think that Kanye West has the power to literally wage a physical war against Jewish people? No. But for anyone who's minimizing this by making that argument, let me just say, we all know what's happening in this country right now, okay? I wasn't born yesterday. I'm very in tune to what the current political climate is in the United States, where political violence is front and center, where Christian nationalism is rising, where you literally have people who say, who cares about the Constitution? We should force our religion on everyone in this country, a country that is supposed to have a separation of church and state. And let me also remind you that anti-Semitic hate crimes and attacks have increased quite a bit since 2016. In fact, 15 years prior to 2016, anti-Semitic hate crimes had actually gone down year after year. 2016, there was a spike and the numbers continue to increase. And how could you forget 2018? There was a gunman who entered the Tree of Life synagogue and like gunned down 11 Jewish people, killed them, murdered them. But they all want to pretend like this doesn't exist, right? That this doesn't have any repercussions, doesn't have any consequences. They know. She knows, Kanye West knows, Tucker Carlson certainly knows. But they love the plausible deniability. What? I don't know. I mean, I just have questions. What could he have possibly meant by DEFCON 3? I'm really dumb. I'm a moron. No, you're a massive grifter. And yes, on some issues, you're incredibly dumb, as was evident in various hearings that included Candace Owens not even knowing just basics about the Holocaust, for instance. But it's just incredible to me that this is where we are as a country, where you have a major public figure with a major platform literally declaring DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And then I knew this was gonna happen. All of the grifters scurrying to his defense immediately.
And there's some Republican officials we'll get to in a sec too. But look guys, the context is what's most important here. So are there gonna be dumbass anti-Semites and other kinds of hateful people in the country? Of course there are. This country of 330 million people. That's not the question. The question is, how do other people react around him, right? So this is the kind of, anti-Semitism is the kind of thing that once it comes out of the bottle, it's hard to put the genie back in, okay? Because what Kanye is beginning to do, what Trump did with racism, but for anti-Semitism. He's giving people permission to come out of the hate closet, right? So now, when he does it, if everybody comes and says, "Oh no, that's wrong, don't do that, that's hateful, that's and obviously ignorant, etc." That's one thing. Hey, look, then we sent the opposite message, right? But when people wink and nod, and it's not just Kanye, but it's others saying, "What?
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal?" The implicit thing there is what's already in the right wingers' minds, which is the Jews control everything. Now, why do I say it's in the right winger's mind? Is that fair? So look, here's the context. When Trump started peaking in 2015, I had David Duke on the show to interview him, right, on The Conversation. Because I wanted to find out, what do the radicals think? What do the most hateful people in the country think? Why do they love Trump so much? Duke comes on here, I thought he was gonna talk about immigrants, Latinos, Muslims, etc. No, never talked about it. Everything was the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. And I was like, whoa, okay, so that's back. Then we talked to Walter Masterson, who's a great comic who dresses up as QAnon or MAGA and goes and interviews them. He says, when you turn off the camera, every one of them says, it's the Jews, okay? Now, then I had QAnon people on and they talked about, hey, you know, they're drinking the blood of babies. And I was like, oh my God, that's blood libel. They've been saying that about Jews for thousands of years. That didn't pop out of nowhere, right? And almost all the QAnon people, unfortunately, are fundamentalist Christians, right? So it's religion that is driving. And it's, guys, do not take it, like, don't think that, oh, it's all Christians, don't be as stupid as they are. Of course not. It's weirdo, wacko, fundamentalist Christians that are hateful that are driving this. But anti-Semitism is back.
It is. I mean, I think that it's been here, it's been dormant in that people, look, norms matter, culture matters. And when the dominant culture in a country is like resistant to and flat out hostile toward anti-Semitism, well, that's when the anti-Semitists, lurk in the shadows because their ideology isn't normalized. What we're seeing today is the normalizing of the same type of fascist ideology that led to the Holocaust. Look, we don't have to wait until we boil to death, okay? The water's boiling. And at this point, we need to make a decision as frogs whether we're gonna jump out of that boiling pot or not.
Yeah, and so it's two more things about how they used to have plausible deniability. They would use code words. George Soros is a giant code word. They wouldn't say donors because most of the donors are Christian, right? So you've got the guys who are the frackers, you've got the Koch brothers, you've got Mercers, etc. But they always say George Soros. Why? Because he's Jewish. In fact, Emma Vigeland, back when she was at TYT, interviewed one of the Trump fans. And I remember this is the largest tattoo I've ever seen. Half this guy's back was George Soros as a puppeteer. Another old school anti-Semitic trope, that they're the puppeteers that control things. And that's what Kanye is saying 24/7. He's letting that genie out of the bottle. The other code word they used was global elites. So Trump, you put that in half his ads in 2016 and he won, right? The global elites like George Soros are controlling things behind the scenes. See, these are the code words. But now Kanye has done something very dangerous. Like Trump did with racism, he's now gotten rid of the code words and he's just saying it.
He's just saying it.
And when he says it outright like that, it makes people think, oh, is it okay? Can I say it too? So apparently it's okay, because Kanye has a lot of fans, right? And now when then people take it, the platforms like Twitter and Instagram take it down, then people think, oh, is he being censored because it's true? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So like whether you take him off the platforms or you don't, now it looks like either way, it's feeding into the anti-Semitism that already existed. So it's an epic disaster. So everybody who piles on to excuse it and apologize for it and make it seem normal and okay is making the situation infinitely worse.
Now, I want to get to actual politicians, people with political power, including Indiana's Attorney General, who decided to defend Kanye West. Well, it was prior to him reading Kanye's anti-Semitic tweet, but I think what he said after he was made aware of Kanye's anti-Semitic tweet is actually really important. So this is, again, Indiana's Attorney General, Todd Rokita. And so first he had tweeted in this thread, the constant hypocrisy from the media is at an all-time high. They have now gone after Kanye for his new fashion line, where of course he was wearing a shirt titled White Lives Matter, okay? And his independent thinking, and for having opposing thoughts from the norm of Hollywood. Listen, Kanye West is allowed to have whatever political thoughts he has. We're also allowed to have political views. And so if I think his White Lives Matter shirt is stupid and racist, I get to share that opinion. And if right-wingers want to wither and cry about it, they can go ahead and do it. But free speech goes both ways, okay? So if you can't handle our free speech, then maybe get out of the game, because you can't handle it. But let me continue. He writes, Kanye's message in this instance is fair and accurate. And regardless, he is entitled to his opinion. The media will steamroll anyone if they do not kowtow to their way of thinking. Okay, so at some point, he was made aware that, Kanye had tweeted that anti-Semitic tweet calling for DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And pay attention to the wording here. Todd Rokita writes, my post was specifically and clearly aimed at the hypocrisy of the media and Hollywood elites, not anything to do with other comments. I have an obvious, clear, and substantial congressional and public record of being 100% supportive of the Jewish community and Israel. Let's pause for a second. Notice that there was no condemnation of what Kanye had said. Zero. None. He never condemned the anti-Semitic tweet from Kanye. All he did was say, I hadn't seen it, and I love funneling taxpayer money to the right-wing government of Israel, so obviously I'm good. No, you're not. You're not.
So in both the comments he made before he found out about the anti-Semitic tweet and after, he keeps referring to the Hollywood elites and the norms of Hollywood and the media making people kowtow to things. That's the coded language before Kanye flat out said it, right? And he still doesn't condemn Kanye. By the way, this is the same guy that's tried to pursue charges against a doctor who did the abortion on the 10-year-old that
rape victim,
10-year-old rape victim. And he's like, how dare you help her? And he tried to pursue the guy who helped her. So this guy's a monster through and through, okay? Total piece of crap. But I want to say one other thing about it, what both him and Candace said. They bring up Israel out of nowhere, right? Hey, knuckleheads, the Jews that live in America are not Israelis. They're Americans. But look at the mindset. They view them as the other, right? Oh, what, Jewish people? Yeah, I give money to Israel through the government. Sure, yeah. No, Jews live here. They're Americans. They're 100% Americans. They're us, not them. But they don't view it that way. And that's one of the many problems for these right-wingers as they go around basically excusing what Kanye said.
Well, I know this is a very dark, gross story, and I do want to give some credit to people who spoke out in the right way, including AOC. Before we go to her tweet though, one of the most, in my opinion, underrated Twitter accounts is the New York Times PitchBot, which is satirical New York Times, account, like making fun of the kinds of headlines they write for stories.
It's not a New York Times account, to be fair.
It's not a New York Times account. It's a satirical account to poke fun at the New York Times.
Yes.
Okay, and in regard to the way the media has been framing this, they write, there is no constitutional prohibition against going DEFCON 3 on the Jews, so Twitter had no legal right to delete Kanye West's purportedly anti-Semitic tweet. And then they quoted Jonathan Turley, but obviously Jonathan Turley didn't say that. It was just satire because of just how pathetic the media frames these kinds of stories. I mean, with Reuters refusing to just flat out call the anti-Semitic tweet anti-Semitic and using the word alleged anti-Semitism instead.
By the way, NBC News did the same thing. So they were having fun with it, but it turns out, no, the media actually did do it. That's why it's a good account, because it pokes fun at the media in accurate ways.
And I do want to just quickly read AOC's tweet on the matter. And let me just note, I mean, I didn't see any, I might have missed it, but I didn't really see this outpour of support for the Jewish community coming from members of Congress, even Democratic members of Congress. That's why AOC's tweet stood out. She wrote, there's absolutely no room in this country or world for anti-Semitism. It is important to see how harmful and dangerous Kanye's words are, not only to our Jewish brothers and sisters and siblings, but also to our collective society at large. We must reject this wherever we see it. So I just want to give her credit for saying what every single member of Congress should have said. But really, I fail to see a concerted response condemning the disgusting statement by Kanye West.
Well, I mean, look, it's just real quick, guys. When Ilhan Omar criticized lobbyists for Israel, the world collapsed in on her, right? So the right wing all put out statements. How dare Ilhan Omar degrading our poor lobbyist friends? We love those lobbyists, right? And they just condemned her at 100 miles an hour. Where are they now? Nothing on Kanye. And he said, DEFCON 3 to all Jewish people. And by the way, Democratic leadership also piled on Ilhan Omar.
Yep.
But where are they now? I mean, I'm sure they put out statements, probably doing fundraising off of it, et cetera. But they don't seem nearly as agitated. So it's really disgusting, the reaction that it's getting overall. And to be fair, most decent people are, of course, wildly against it, totally against it. And you're also seeing that too. It's just that the people in power are surprisingly quiet on this issue.